I'm back, and so is Gary Trent Jr. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk Raptors. I'm your host, Ahtisham, my channel where you get reviews, analysis, predictions, and hot takes on all things Raptors as well as some NBA. So, the Raptors had their game against the Washington Wizards today. Still missing Kem Birch, but we had Gary Trent Jr. back in the lineup, coming off of close losses, I would say. And, we pulled this game out. It was close down the line, but we pulled it out. So, without a further ado, let's talk Raptors versus the Washington Wizards. So, it seems like when the game usually starts for the Raptors are a little bit what you could say lethargic, because that's just how the games have started for us for the past few games, and I will get into why I think that is happening. But the Raptors, come out a little bit dry. Washington comes out firing. They're moving the ball. Everything is going in. And they eventually take a lead. But, Gary Trent Jr. makes his first three-pointer right away. It's his first shot. He's still nailing his three-pointers. But, they're starting to pull away. I think at the point that Nick Nurse calls the timeout, they had like a 10-point lead. And I don't know what the hell Nick Nurse told Scotty Barnes in this game, in that timeout. Because Scotty Barnes came out and just put the Raptors on his back. Gave us the energy and the boost that we need. He just went into the paint underneath the basket and played Shaq-like. Just bodying up defenders, and it had a little bit to do with the whole aspect of, Washington playing zone. The Raptors switching where they bring the big out a little bit and then switch on to bring a big body underneath the paint to be defended by a smaller body. But man, Scotty Barnes was playing Shaq like. He's just, putting his booty into the other defender and just going towards the rim. And I think he went in the second quarter, he had like 8 points. And the Raptors finally get close enough and they take the lead by 1 point at halftime. Then the Raptors come out in the third quarter, and again, the Raptors are doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're defending well. They have more energy. Bradley Beal is, nowhere to be seen at this time. And the Raptors eventually, by the early fourth quarter, build up, I think it was an 18-point lead at that time. And then something again happens. First of all, Bradley Beal decides to wake up and want to whoop our ass, and so does Montrezl Harrell, because he was pissed because he was sitting on the bench most of this time. But they start to go off, and eventually by I think it was the 3-minute mark or so, no, 2-minute mark, no. About 1 minute and 14 seconds left, I think it was. And the game's tied, 102. And basically, Nick Nurse calls a timeout because the Raptors can't seem to buy a bucket. I think we're 5 for 20 in that quarter at that point. And we hadn't scored from the 5-minute mark at that point as well. So it was looking like the Washington Wizards were going to win this game because, we just can't seem to buy a bucket, even though every time we needed something, it was Gary Trent keeping us in that game. And so was Scotty Barnes, but so did, people were, scoring, but they weren't scoring impactfully. So we were down by we were tied. Calls a timeout, comes out with a set play where Freddie gets that open three coming off of a screen off of Scotty Barnes and nails it. Boom! Puts us up by 3. We go to the other side, and I think it was a turnover or they missed a bucket, and we get the rebound. We come back. The clock is running down. Scotty is trying to post up again. He turns around, shoots it. It goes off the front of the rim, and somehow OG comes from the weak side. The ball falls in his hand. He gets it into the net. And we're up by 5 points. And at that time, there were 22 seconds left. and the game is over technically, because even though they fouled Pascal and Pascal made both of his free throws and put us up by 7, but that's not the point. We win. Woohoo! After 2 close losses, we finally pull something out, right? We had Boucher going off to get us that 18-point game. He was shooting 3-pointers like Steph Curry. Everybody was doing their thing, but that, there was this big lull, and that didn't really help us. But having Gary Trent Jr. helped us, and that is my key takeaway number 1. Is whenever we have Gary Trent Jr. in the lineup, whether it's a small lineup, whether it's Cam Burks playing the starter and somebody else coming off of the bench, or somebody out of the lineup, it just creates more space because defenders have to respect his 3-point shot. So it creates more space. It allows for people to be constantly moving at the same time and be able to spread the floor and be able to collapse, help defense further away from their defender. So it really helps us out, and that showed, especially when, Gary Trent started nailing his 3-pointers right in the first quarter, right after his first shot. And defenders still have to respect him. So it allows for people to, like I said, bring in the help defender a little bit further away from their guy, so they can, pass the ball to the open guy, and they have an open shot that they can make. And that usually comes because Gary Trent Jr. is on the floor, and the defense is going to have to respect him because he is a damn good offensive player. And he actually showed that on the defensive end today too. Our defense was actually better with Gary Trent Jr. So that is my second key takeaway, guys, is that this guy is playing defense at an elite level. He is deflecting the ball. He had this sick block. I think it was on Thomas Bryant, after Bryant was talking trash to Chris Boucher. At that point, the game was teetering. He comes from the back, just says, "Get the garbage out of here." And, we go to the other side, we nail a 3-pointer, and eventually build the lead up. So Gary Trent Jr. on the defensive side also gives us that luxury, where a taller guard, where, Freddie's having to defend them, you can actually switch off of that and allow Gary Trent to defend that guy. And there's more switchability as well because Gary Trent is quicker than a center would be, and he's just taller than Freddie, so it's so much better. And him and OG kind of play off each other very well on the defensive side, especially when they switch. Where both of them are going to be, so they're able to close the lanes and be able to take the offensive player towards the help defense because they know that the other guy is going to be present there. So it works very well, especially if you watch the game very closely on these things. So that was my second key takeaway, guys. Number 3 is that if the Raptors are completely healthy, if you get Khem Birch back, honestly, our bench is going to be not a major issue, even though I still think we need another guard that can come off the bench and just be a spark in case we need it, because Svi hasn't been there. Maybe Svi getting benched might, change his game a bit, but that's just something that I feel. But if we get Khem Birch back, that gives us 9 guys who are potential starters on any team, where 3 of them are going to be coming off the bench, and that is going to give us a very, very good chance in order to move up in the standings, because Eastern Conference is as tight as a butthole. It is damn crazy right now. So every game matters, where we're 4 games behind of everybody who is on top of us because we haven't played those 4 games. So by the end of the season, those 4 games are going to play a big role, and if we can have everybody healthy for those 4 games, it is going to be damn good for us. But this is the same thing that leads into my 4th key takeaway, which is kind of just something that makes me nervous, is seeing all of our guys within the first, middle of the first quarter having their hands on their knees. I think the minutes might possibly be catching up to them. I understand Nick Nurse wants to punish the bench and stuff like that. He doesn't want to risk losses and stuff. But it might be tiring our guys out because Freddie's playing an all-star level, so is Siakam, so is OG. They're doing it on both ends, and the minutes might end up catching up to them. I get injuries play a role, but that's why you have a bench to use them. So, in games like where you're playing Detroit, possibly, yes, but Detroit has a number, but come on, man, just give them that little bit of rest that we need, because we don't want these guys getting injured close to, when we're about to make that streak of 3-4 games in a row, right? That's something that sets us back, is an injury because our guys are exhausted or something just happens. Don't let it happen because of an exhaustion, Nick Nurse. That's all I have to say for that. But let's get to the MVP. Scotty Barnes, Shaq O'Neal, Kevin Garnett. This guy went to the post today, career high, 27 points, and he had 8 rebounds to go along with it. He played a damn good game, man, and he kept us in there when we were down by 13, I think, mid first quarter to early second quarter. And he was playing with energy. He was smacking his chest. He was like, I got this, man. And he put up 27 points straight up. MVP today, man. Even though Gary Trent Jr. was good to see him back. I know Pascal and Freddie did what they always do, 21 point, playing like all-stars. OG did his defensive stuff, did his dirty work. Everybody played damn good, and that is exactly why the Raptors are going to be such a good team, man, if we can just stay healthy. Well, that's all I have for you guys for this video. I hope you enjoyed that content. Please hit that like and subscribe button on the YouTube channel and help the channel grow. And I will see you guys after our game. I think it's on Sunday against the Portland Trailblazers. I don't think if Norman Paul is going to play or not. But anyways, guys, that's all I have for you guys for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed the content, and I will see you guys on Sunday.